Okay, so before I start the video, I have a couple announcements to make. First off, I'm so sorry this took so long to make, but I can promise you that I'll be trying much harder to get my videos out as quickly as possible. Secondly, huge shout out to MimiDigs for the new thumbnail layout, and trust me, I'll be getting a lot of use out of this. Without further ado, let's get started. Yo, what's up everybody? My name is Esper James, and I've been kind of sick for the past few days, but let's continue with the Kirby Marathon with Kirby's Dream Land 2. Now, after Kirby's adventure on the NES, he returned to the Game Boy in 1995, despite the SNES being released 5 years prior and the N64 getting ready for its debut the next year. It may sound crazy to pass up the opportunity to jump into the 16-bit world to go back to the Game Boy, but that system was still going strong, and not to mention that Pokemon was getting released on it the year after this game's release. Would there have been any specific reason to go back to the Game Boy rather than jump straight into the Super Nintendo? Could it have been nostalgia? Maybe they wanted to pull Kirby off the shelves so they could think of something else. Well, I say we stop speculating and just jump right in. While I do own the physical cartridge for this game, I still have no clue how to record straight off the Game Boy, and this Game Boy home console I thought of isn't being made anytime soon, so I'm just going to use the Kirby Dream Collection for this, since my PC recording software doesn't like emulators. Okay, booting up, and oh god! Ugh, it's so smudgy and dark, and the music's playing out of a tin can. Alright, looks like I'm resorting to... Yeah, sorry, I know it's wrong to use an emulator on a hacked Wii U, but I have no other choice other than PC emulators, and my PC doesn't like that. Besides, I have the cartridge as well as the Dream Collection, which has it built in, so I think it's justified. Now, the first thing you'll notice when booting up the game is that Kirby isn't alone in this adventure. This time he's joined by Rick, a hamster, Coo the owl, and Kind the fish. You'll find them strewn about the levels, either trapped by a mini-boss or by defeating all the enemies in a room, after which you can ride on them. Now, this may sound like a cool concept at first, which it is, but hear me out. The animal buddies each have their own health bars and unique abilities, such as Coo being able to fly against wind, Kind swimming against currents, and Rick doesn't slip on ice. Okay, that'll be useful for the one time you may use in an ice level, but I digress. Just remember that when you get one of them, don't think you have a free health power-up. They may have a separate health bar from you, but once they're gone, you're left with whatever health you had when you first got them. It's annoying, but it makes sense, I guess. As for the story, what is the story? Well, since the game doesn't provide a story and I don't have a manual, I'll make up my own. I'm gonna say that Dee Dee's being a dick and Kirby has to go smack some sense into him. The gameplay itself is kind of a mishmash of the previous two games. It removes the slide maneuver and dash from Adventure, but it still allows you to obtain your enemy's abilities via the copy ability. It feels pretty good, actually. It's still a little stiff when you're doing specific stuff, but it's better than Dreamland 1 and miles better than Adventure. Again, maybe it was because I was using a PC emulator with a PS3 controller, but whatever. I'm not sure whether the pool of copy abilities got larger or smaller from Adventure, though. It feels larger, but it's lacking some obvious ones like Sword and Fire. And before you get mad, yes, there is technically a Fire copy ability in this game, but that's what's known as Fireball or Burst in Adventure. It sucked then and it still sucks here. 95% of the times you use this, you'll stop right in front of an enemy, and you still lose copy abilities the second you get hit like an Adventure. And if you take damage underwater with one, say goodbye to it. Which helps us segue into my next problem with the game, the Rainbow Drops. These collectibles are what you need to complete the game and unlock the final boss. They're pretty easy to get at first, but after the first 3 or so, BAM! World 4 Iceberg. This and World 6 gave me so much shit for what I needed to do to get the respective Rainbow Drops. World 4 especially. You need to bring Kind the fish and the firepower to this area here. But in order to reach the place where you need to use the firepower, there's these blocks you can't reach in your current condition. So, what do? You need to drop the power up and get rid of the blocks. But don't take too long, or else it vanishes and you have to do the entire level all over again. And let's not forget, if you take a hit, you lose your power-ups. So what did the devs do before this bullshit area? Why, gave you a mini-boss, an auto-scroll section riddled with enemies, icicles, and traps, and then the area where you need to do all that block bullshit, also full of enemies. World 6's Rainbow Drop is hard too, but not for how hard it is, but how confusing it is. You end up using all three animals here, and it gets annoying trying to beat these mini-bosses with any power-up. This may be the second game with power-ups, but other than using them to break specific blocks only to get rainbow drops, they might as well not even exist. They do fuck all to bosses and mini-bosses, dealing only a measly 1 health point at best. When I fight one of these, I spit stars at them.
But it gets extremely tedious with bosses that rarely use attacks that you can suck up, and for that, the squid boss can fucking blow me! And you wanna know why I'm not bothering to talk about any of the bosses? Because they're either a complete joke, or what we've already seen in the past 2 games. But back to those rainbow drops. The ones in Worlds 4 and 6 can still die in a hole, but that doesn't mean they're all bad. Most are well hidden, and I admire that. What I don't admire, however, is that they're all hidden behind blocks that can only be broken with a specific power-up, usually combined with an animal buddy. So in combination with trying not to lose your power-up, which I must stress can sometimes not be found in that stage and is taken from you in one hit, you also need to make sure that your animal buddy doesn't get hurt too much or else you lose them. I'd recommend you have a guide on standby so you'll know how and where to find them all with ease, as well as knowing what you need. Because trust me, it is not worth trying to find them all on your own.
What was that? Anyway.
So, what do the rainbow drops do? Well, first we need to beat King Dedede, and damn, he's kind of a challenge this time. He supports the most health he's had so far, and has 2 states, I guess. His normal state, where he does his normal attacks, and even dozes up for once in a while. Huh, must have caught him just after a nap. And his enraged state, as I call it, where his attacks get a lot more sporadic and fast, as well as being more, explosive. But once we finally beat him, he collapses, and this thing comes out of him and flies high into the sky. Using the rainbow drops, we form the rainbow sword, and of course, they have to make something to resemble rainbows on a system that can't display more than 4 colors, or at least what it was originally designed for. So in my case, it's the pink sword. For the 2 seconds, it's pink. The blob that came out of Dedede turns into the Dark Matter Knight, and after a fight that can easily be described as sword energy tennis with some physical contact, it reveals its true form, a one-eyed ball with tiny balls on the backside. Honestly, I like the swordsman design since it looks like it actually poses a threat rather than just being something a kid would have nightmares about. Anyway, with a few hundred more jabs at it with the sword, seriously it takes a good few swipes just to knock off 1 point of health, it explodes and it looks like Kirby passes out from either lack of oxygen or because he wanted to take a nap after dealing with this. Luckily he wakes up before crashing into the planet and uses the sword to fly safely down as well as creating a rainbow, signifying the end of Kirby's Dreamland 2.
Well, that was, something. Now, what are my thoughts on this game? Let me tell you.
This game's structure is similar to that of the original Dreamland, where you mostly make your way from left to right, and not much else sadly. It's essentially what the title describes it as. It's Kirby's Dreamland, but it's bigger, more diverse, and with more enemies and power-ups. It's not necessarily bad in that regard, but as long as you like how the original Dreamland was structured, you're gonna like this one even more. If you didn't, well, you're not missing much sadly. Everything you see in this game, you find in other, better Kirby games in one form or another, including the final boss. But as a standalone Kirby game, what do I think of it? Well, to me, it's something you play only if you're a Kirby enthusiast. If you're not a Kirby enthusiast, or just don't care about Dreamland style, well, there's something you can easily skip. But for those who play it, it's a moderately fun time. Until you go for completion, that is. Seriously, if you're gonna go for completion, save yourself the trouble and get a guide for the rainbow drops. And for those who want to play it, you can easily find it on the cheap online or at flea markets. Or just buy it on the eShop if you don't care about cartridges.
Well, folks, we're finally getting into the 16-bit era of Kirby games with Kirby Super... Right. I don't have the Super Nintendo version of the game, so we're gonna have to settle with the DS remake of Kirby Superstar Ultra for the DS. I think I already said that. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Later.